Red string caught my fiancé cheating on our wedding day. No cheating couple has ever been able to hide from me. Since I was 10, I've had a special ability. I can see red strings connecting people. Only people who have actually slept together get tied by one. Over the years, 2 extra red strings showed up around my father's head. My mother never stopped fighting with him about it. Because of that, the quality I valued most in a husband was loyalty. That's why I ended up choosing Zach Carter. His head had always been completely clear. Just half an hour ago, he sent me a sweet voice message. Chloe, I've saved myself for you, for 25 years. Tomorrow night is our wedding night, and I can finally make you mine. I love you, but right now, standing in front of the mirror in my wedding dress, I saw a glowing red string stretching from him. It snaked through the crowd and connected straight to my maid of honor and best friend, Tess Reynolds. Tess was kneeling on the floor, adjusting the train of my gown. She pulled down her collar, intentionally showing off the dark hickeys on her neck. Then she let out a soft groan and rubbed her lower back. Chloe, you have to let me go home early tonight to rest. I was way too tired last night. My legs are still shaking. The rest of the bridesmaids laughed and teased her, asking when she was going to introduce them to the guy who'd worn her out. I just stared at that bright red thread on her. Last night, when Zach dropped me off, his head had been completely clear. I looked at Zach, who was gazing at me with deep affection, and then at Tess, her face still flushed. Tess, that mysterious boyfriend of yours who kept you up all night. He wouldn't happen to be my fiancé, would he? Tess's hands froze on my dress. A flash of panic crossed her eyes. Chloe, stop joking. She quickly lowered her head and went back to smoothing my train. I have a boyfriend. Beside us, Lily got excited and tried to grab Tess's phone with a laugh. Come on, let us see who broke our little Tess last night. Tess held onto her phone and hid behind me, giggling. Seriously, I can't show you. He has a temper. If he finds out I showed his picture, he'll be furious. Ooh, protecting him already? I have to. His situation is a bit complicated, so we're keeping it a secret for now. As Tess said this, her eyes drifted past the crowd and landed on Zach, who was standing by the door. The red thread connecting them was blinding. I clenched my fists, nearly ripping the lace on my dress. Over the years, I had seen countless red strings tangle and cross, but I never imagined I would see one on my own groom the day before our wedding. Chloe, help me out here, she whined, tugging my arm. He really told me not to show anyone. I forced my trembling hands to steady and managed a tight smile. Since everyone is so curious, let's play a game. Whoever loses has to hand over their phone. Yes, Maya clapped. The bride has spoken. Tess blinked, clearly not expecting me to push her into a corner. Zach walked in and placed his hand on my shoulder. Chloe, stop teasing her. Tess is sensitive. You're the bride. Don't start bullying your maid of honor. Tess. Before today, he had always called her Tess Reynolds. I looked at the hand on my shoulder. Last night, this very hand had wrapped his jacket around me. He had held me close and whispered that he wanted to save his very first time for our wedding night. Less than 24 hours later, he had his first red thread. I'm bullying her? Well, you know how stubborn you get once you set your mind on something? Zach smiled, handing me a glass of juice. Pre-wedding anxiety is normal. Have something sweet. Tess took the opportunity to shrink behind his back. See? Zach always gets me. Chloe, don't be so mean to him in the future. What if you scare such a good man away? Are you really that worried about my fiancé running away? I'm just looking out for you. She giggled, covering her mouth. On her pinky finger, she wore a simple silver band. I recognized that ring. It was a design sketch Zach had shown me months ago. He had told me the lines were too plain and didn't suit me. Now it was on Tess's finger. A perfect fit. Taking advantage of Tess's distraction, Lily snatched her phone and unlocked it with Face ID before Tess could stop her. The more you hide him, the more we want to see. Lily swiped to the first photo and let out a loud whistle. The photo showed Tess's profile. Her eyes were red and watery. From her collarbone down, deep purple hickeys covered her skin. Oh damn, Maya squeezed in to look. The second photo was a close-up of 2 hands tightly locked together. The tension in the photo was palpable. The man's wrist bore a black dial mechanical watch. There was a distinct scratch on the bottom right of the bezel. I knew that scratch all too well. Zach had gotten it when he bumped into a shopping cart while shopping with me. My nails dug deep into my palms. Then came the chats. The contact name was Z, and the avatar was a green field. The chat history was filled with daily good morning and good night texts, along with late-night FaceTime call logs. The earliest message dated back to a year ago. Tess, I seriously can't stop thinking about you. Tess, I miss you too, Z. I dreamed about you last night. I dreamed you were holding me to sleep. My breath caught as I scrolled to a message from 3 months ago. Tess had texted, "The concert tonight was amazing. But when can we hold hands in public like everyone else?"
Soon.
Wait for me. 3 months ago. That was our 7-year anniversary. That day, I had spent 2 hours on my makeup and cooked a full dinner. I waited 5 hours for him, only to get a text. "Sorry, babe. Work is crazy tonight. Eat without me and get some sleep." "Stop. You guys are horrible," Tess shrieked, snatching her phone back. Blushing furiously, she ran toward the stairwell. Less than 2 minutes after she left, Zach's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and quickly turned it face down. "My mom wants me to book 2 more rooms. Some relatives just got into town. You girls have fun, but make sure to let Chloe sleep early. She has to get up for hair and makeup tomorrow." Zach leaned down and kissed my forehead. The bridesmaids cheered. Once he walked out, I excused myself to use the restroom. As I approached the stairwell, Tess's voice drifted through the door. "I thought you said we shouldn't meet tonight?" Zach's voice was low and strained. "I just missed you too much. I needed to see you." "Well, you've seen me. Now go. We agreed last night was the end of it." Tess was trying to push him away, but her voice was dripping with sweetness. "You're getting married tomorrow. I don't want Chloe to notice anything. You know how she is. She's terrified of betrayal. She literally just asked me if my boyfriend's last name was Carter." Zach let out a dry laugh. "So, you do know she's terrified of betrayal." A brief silence followed, then the sound of rustling fabric against the door. "Tess, I crossed the line last night. And I have to marry Chloe. I owe her that much." Tess's breathing grew ragged. "But do you love her?" "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "I've committed to her since college. The house is under her name, my salary goes to her, and I won't let her suffer after marriage." "Then what am I to you?" "I'm sorry. I just couldn't help myself. I'm completely losing control around you." Zach's voice dropped to a whisper. "Over the years, I've gotten so used to you helping me at work. You always come to me when you're sad, and you're the only one I can talk to when I'm stressed. When you cried last night and said we couldn't see each other anymore, I just snapped." I heard Tess playfully hit his chest. "If you love her so much, why are you here right now?" "Because I want you." Those 4 words were soft, like a sigh, but they completely shattered 7 years of trust. I gripped the doorknob, barely able to stand. It turned out a man could clearly love me while simultaneously wanting another woman. He had treated his loyalty like an expensive gift, waiting to present it at the wedding, only to let Tess test drive it first. "Zach, after the wedding, are we really over?" "Yes." "Can you actually let me go?" "Even if I can't, I have to. Chloe would never forgive me if she found out. She loves you so much. How could she ever leave you?" Zach chuckled. "Of course she won't leave." His absolute certainty hurt worse than the betrayal itself. "She's spent 6 months planning this wedding. The house is fully furnished. Both of our families and all our friends are arriving tomorrow. She cares too much about her mother's reputation to cause a scene. Even if she finds out, she'll wait until after the wedding to deal with it." Tess sniffled. "What about me? Have you thought about how I feel? I love you, but I have to stand there as her maid of honor and watch you marry her." Tess started crying. Zach comforted her for a long time before finally saying, "The smart lock passcode to our new house is her birthday. Go there and wait for me. I'll make it up to you tonight." "Are you insane? That's the house she personally decorated. After tomorrow, I can never hold you like this again." "What if she finds out?" "She's staying at the hotel with her bridesmaids tonight. She won't go to the house." I heard the sound of a quick, sloppy kiss. Then, Zach's husky voice. "Wait for me." Footsteps approached the door. I quickly retreated into a bathroom stall. Through the thin partition, I heard Tess walk in. She turned on the faucet, humming a cheerful tune in the mirror. At the exact same time, my phone lit up with a Snapchat message from her. "Tess, hey babe, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so I'm heading home early. Don't be mad. I'll be there bright and early tomorrow to be your maid of honor." I stared at the screen, a cold smile forming on my lips. I typed back, "Get some rest." Half an hour later, I was sitting alone in my car in the hotel's underground parking lot. A notification popped up on my phone from my smart home security app. We bought the house together with a joint loan. After the renovations were done, I had installed a security camera in the living room for safety. I hadn't gotten around to telling Zach about it yet. On the live stream, Tess didn't look uncomfortable at all. She grabbed a pair of men's slippers from the entryway and casually opened the wine cabinet. 20 minutes later, Zach walked through the door. Tess threw herself into his arms. This is our last night. Don't mention Chloe's name. Tess, don't be childish. Can't you even promise me that? Zach hugged her from behind.
Okay.
No talking about her tonight. They kissed from the living room to the hallway, the camera capturing them right up to the master bedroom door. Inside that room was the bed I had spent an entire afternoon making, complete with the custom silk sheets I had personally ironed. Our engagement photos hung on the wall. The wedding gift he gave me sat on the nightstand. Now, everything I had carefully put together was just the backdrop for their affair. The camera only covered the living room, but the red thread had already shown me the ending. Even though I had prepared myself, watching them put their hands on each other felt like a physical blow to my throat. I couldn't breathe. Tears finally spilled over, heavy drops falling onto the screen where two blurry figures clung to each other. The screen went black. I looked at my own reflection in the dark glass. I was 28, the exact same age my mother was when she caught my father cheating. The only difference was that my mother endured it. I would not. The evidence was on my phone, and the footage was saved in the cloud. I wiped my tears, started the engine, and drove home. The moment I saw my mother, the tears came rushing back. Mom, I want to cancel the wedding tomorrow. By 11 p.m., my mother had finished watching the footage. Her hands were shaking violently. Chloe, this video didn't catch them actually entering the bedroom. But yesterday, their red strings were connected. My mother snapped her head up. You're sure? I am. When I was 10, I asked my mother why the man from the first floor and the woman across the hall on the third floor had a red string connecting their heads. I asked if they had slept together. My mother slapped me, thinking I was talking dirty. 6 months later, when the two families ended up in court over an affair, she finally realized what I could see. Since then, she warned me never to tell anyone about my ability to avoid trouble. She also knew why I had been so hesitant to get married. My mother closed her eyes. Of course it had to happen the night before the wedding. It didn't just start last night. They've been emotionally cheating for a year or two. Last night was just the night they finally tied the knot. My mother was silent for a long moment. Then she pulled out the guest list. I'll start calling our relatives right now. As for his side, let Zach handle it himself. Chloe, you didn't make the same mistake I did. I've got your back. I dialed Zach's number. It rang 7 times before he declined the call. 5 minutes later, a Snapchat message arrived from him. Zach. Babe, are you back at the hotel? Zach. Get some sleep. You have to wake up early for makeup. I stared at his fake concern and replied. Where are you? The typing bubble kept appearing and disappearing. 2 minutes later, he sent a photo of the guest bedroom in our new house. Zach. I sorted out the relatives. The hotel was fully booked, so I'm crashing in the guest room at our place tonight. He lied so flawlessly. If not for that red string, if not for the security camera, I probably would have spent the night worrying about how exhausted he was from running around all day. I sent him a screenshot of the security footage instead. In the frame, Tess's dress was draped over the living room sofa. Right after, I sent my final message. You don't have to hide anymore. The wedding is canceled. Let's keep whatever dignity we have left. Zach didn't reply. A minute later on the camera, Zach rushed into the living room and stared directly up at the camera lens. Tess ran out behind him, wrapped in my bathrobe. What do we do? Did she see us? Zach reached up and ripped the camera down. Right before the screen went black, I heard his voice, eerily calm. Don't worry, I'll handle it. The next morning, at the crack of dawn, it became clear that his idea of handling it was to force me into the wedding. Zach had messaged his family group chat, claiming I had suddenly come down with a severe fever. His mother, Amber, showed up at my hotel door with a dozen relatives, blocking the hallway. Chloe Vance, you get out here right now. Backing out of a wedding at the last minute? That's fraud. Chloe, if you don't open this door, I will make sure everyone in this city knows you lost your mind before the wedding. Let's see who will marry you then. Outside the door, Zach did nothing to stop her. He only spoke through the door in a gentle, pleading voice. Chloe, put on your dress. I'll take you to the venue. After today, you can punish me however you want. My bridesmaids had woken up to my apology text about canceling the wedding, but couldn't find me. They ran around looking for me, only to stumble into Amber and Zach's aggressive family blockade in the hotel hallway. Lily immediately recorded a video and sent it to me. Watching the video, my hands and feet went cold. I thought I had given him an easy way out so we could part ways peacefully. Instead, he chose to play dirty, using the weight of the Carter family to force me to swallow this insult. I called Zach. Tell your family to leave my bridesmaids alone. I will be at the venue at 11. I went to my closet, pulled out a black dress I had bought for a funeral, and put on a black fascinated veil to cover the dark circles under my eyes. Then, I took my mother's hand and drove to the hotel venue. When Amber saw me dressed in all black, her hand stopped midair as she greeted guests. Zach stepped forward to take my hand. "Stop acting out. I brought your wedding gown. Go inside and change." I stepped back, avoiding his touch. "Where is Tess?" "She's not feeling well. Tired out from last night?" Amber suddenly shoved me. "Keep your mouth clean. On a beautiful day like this, how dare you throw dirt at your own husband?" My lower back slammed into the sharp corner of the reception table. The pain made me double over. My mother rushed forward. "Don't you dare touch her." She was blocked by Zach's uncle, Mark, and his sister, Annie. "Your daughter is dead set on making the Carters look bad today," Mark sneered. Amber pointed her finger at my face. "She either walks down that aisle right now, or she gets down on her knees and apologizes to every single guest here." Zach held me up. "Mom, don't push her." "You're still defending her?" Amber snapped. "She's my wife." I let out a cold laugh and reminded him. "We haven't signed the marriage certificate yet. We are nothing." Zach's grip on my arm tightened. "Chloe, stop this. I admit I made a mistake last night. Once the wedding is over, I'll make it up to you." "Do you really think I'm doing this to negotiate with you?" Zach looked at me, a genuine look of confusion in his eyes. "Are you really going to ruin our 7-year relationship over one little mistake?" Right then, the announcer's voice echoed from the ballroom speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the groom." The guests clapped, and Zach quickly put on a bright smile and walked inside. Beyond those doors was a dreamlike scene, with spotlights, cascading white flowers, and the wedding march playing softly. The announcer announced, "And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Please welcome the beautiful bride." I walked in wearing solid black, looking like I was attending a funeral, stepping onto the aisle I had dreamed about for 5 years. Tess was standing near the altar in her maid of honor dress, her eyes puffy, still wearing that plain silver band on her pinky. The moment she saw me enter, she immediately started crying. "Chloe, thank God you're here. Last night I was just depressed, so I asked Zach to have a few drinks with me. Please don't misunderstand. There's absolutely nothing going on between us." As she spoke, she reached out to adjust my non-existent train. The announcer called for the groom to meet the bride. Zach smiled warmly and walked toward me as if nothing had happened. He dropped to one knee before me. I reached out, grabbed Tess by her collar, and yanked her forward with all my strength. With a sharp gasp, Tess stumbled and crashed directly into Zach's arms. The entire room went dead silent. Guests exchanged bewildered looks. The crash of Tess hitting Zach's chest echoed against the vaulted ceiling of the grand ballroom. Gasps rippled across the 400 seated guests. Floral arrangements trembled on their pedestals. Zach, knocked off balance on one knee, instinctively caught Tess by the waist to keep them both from tumbling onto the pristine white runner. For a split second, their bodies molded together, his arm wrapped around her ribcage, her cheek pressed against his silk lapel, in a posture of absolute, practiced intimacy. Right above their heads, the glowing crimson thread hummed, vibrant and undeniable to my eyes. It pulsed with a sickening, lurid heat, binding his chest to hers. "Chloe," Zach hissed, his neck turning blotchy red as he shoved Tess upright. "What are you doing? Have you completely lost your mind?" Tess stumbled back, her hands flying to her mouth. Tears spilled instantly down her carefully contoured cheeks. "Chloe, why would you do that? If you're stressed, don't take it out on me." Amber Carter surged forward from the front row, her diamond earrings catching the harsh stage lights. "You ungrateful little brat. My son knelt down to honor you, and you assault your own maid of honor? In front of everyone?" She grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging through the black fabric of my sleeve. "Apologize right now. Get on your knees and apologize to Zach and Tess, or by God, I will ruin you." I didn't pull away. I slowly turned my head, letting the black veil shadow my eyes as I looked at Zach's mother. "You want an apology, Amber?" I asked, my voice calm, flat, and chillingly
Clear.
"Why don't we see who owes an apology first?" Before anyone could react, I reached into the pocket of my funeral dress and pulled out a small black remote. The wedding planner had placed the main AV control in my hands yesterday morning, so I could cue our 7-year anniversary montage video. Zach thought the technicians were waiting to play a reel of our college photos, our trips to Maine, and our first apartment. I pressed the button. The overhead lights abruptly dimmed. The massive 4K LED screen behind the floral Arch flickered to life. A high-definition security camera feed filled the screen. The timestamp read, yesterday, 11:14 p.m. The entire ballroom fell into a suffocating silence. On screen, the spacious living room of our brand-new suburban home appeared.
The
Camera captured Tess walking out of the kitchen barefoot, wearing one of Zach's oversized shirts, swirling a glass of Cabernet. Moments later, the front door unlocked. Zach walked in, threw his keys on the counter, and within 3 seconds, Tess was in his arms. The high-fidelity microphone on the camera picked up every murmur with crystalline clarity. This is our last night. Don't mention Chloe's name. Tess, don't be childish. Can't you even promise me that? Okay. No talking about her tonight. The camera showed them stumbling down the hallway toward the master bedroom. Zach's hands under her shirt, their mouths locked in an uninhibited, desperate frenzy. A collective shriek tore through the ballroom. Turn it off. Turn it off right now. Zach screamed, his face draining of all color. He lunged toward the AV booth at the back of the hall, but the sound technician had already locked the door from the inside, bribed 20 minutes earlier with $500 cash and a promise of immunity from the Carter family's wrath. No, wait, that's not real. It's an AI deepfake. Tess shrieked, backing into the floral arrangement and knocking over a tower of white lilies. Chloe maid.
it.
She's jealous of my friendship with Zach. I clicked the remote again. The screen shifted. High-resolution screenshots filled the display. 1. The close-up photo from Tess's phone. The man's wrist wearing the mechanical watch with the scratched bezel, next to Tess's bare collarbone marked with deep purple bruises. 2. The receipt from Tiffany and Company from 4 months ago, under Zach's personal credit card, for the custom silver band currently shining on Tess's right pinky finger. 3. The year-long Snapchat and iMessage logs between Z and Tess. The concert tonight was amazing. But when can we hold hands in public like everyone else?
Soon.
Wait for me. The date stamped on that message. September 14th. Our 7-year anniversary. The night I sat alone for 5 hours with a cold roast chicken while he claimed he was stuck in emergency meetings at the firm. The whisper in the ballroom rose into an uncontrollable roar. Zach's extended relatives, business partners, and colleagues were staring at the screen with jaws dropped. My bridesmaids, Lily and Maya, were standing near the entrance, looking at Tess with utter disgust. You disgusting whore, Lily shouted from the back, her voice ringing across the
hall.
She ironed the sheets in that room with her own hands. Amber's face transformed from self-righteous fury to horrified humiliation.
She
looked at her son, then at the screen, then at the wealthy society guest she had bragged to for months about her son's pure, devoted marriage. Zachary? Amber gasped, her voice trembling. What is this? Tell me this is a joke. Zach didn't answer his mother. He was staring at me, his chest heaving, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and disbelief. Chloe, he choked out, walking toward me, his hands raised in surrender. Chloe, please. Let's talk in private. I made a mistake. It was just once, I swear. It was the pressure of the wedding. You know I love you. I built that house for us. You didn't build that house for us, I said, my voice steady through the microphone pinned to my collar. My mother and I paid 70% of the down payment. My name is on the title deed. Your name was only added as a co-borrower because you promised a lifetime of partnership. I stepped forward, lifting the black veil away from my face so he could look into my eyes. You told me you saved yourself for 25 years. You treated your loyalty like a prize, but you couldn't even wait until the ceremony before defiling the bed I bought. I turned to Tess, who was sobbing hysterically against a marble pillar, clutching her dress as if it could shield her from the cameras. Several guests were already aiming at her. And you, Tess, for 7 years, you ate at my table. You cried on my shoulder when your exes dumped you. You helped me pick out my wedding flowers while sleeping with my groom. Chloe, I was weak, Tess sobbed. He told me he loved me. You can have him, I said quietly, the words cutting through the chaotic hall like a blade through silk. Every single piece of him, the debt, the lies, the broken promises, and the mother-in-law who will blame you for ruining her family's reputation. He's all yours. I unclasped the diamond bracelet Zach had given me for our engagement and let it drop to the floor. It clattered against the marble tile with a hollow, final snap. The wedding is over. The reception is cancelled. Everyone please enjoy the catering on the Carter family's tab. I turned on my black stilettos and walked down the aisle. Chloe, don't you walk away from me, Amber shrieked, lunging forward to grab my
hair.
Before she could take 2 steps, my mother stepped directly into her path. Without a word, my mother raised her right hand and delivered a sharp, resounding slap across Amber's face. Smack. Amber stumbled back into the front pew, clutching her cheek in shock. My daughter owes you nothing, my mother said coldly, adjusting the collar of her suit jacket. Try touching her again, Amber, and I will have my lawyers audit every single dollar Zach borrowed from our family fund for his startup. With that, my mother linked her arm through mine. Together, we walked through the heavy double doors of the ballroom, leaving the screams, the camera flashes, and the wreckage of Zach Carter's life behind us. The afternoon sun hit my face the moment we stepped out of the hotel lobby. It was blindingly bright, sharp and clean compared to the suffocating rot inside. The ballroom. Outside, the valet was still directing cars and late arriving. Guests were walking up the granite steps holding gift boxes tied with pastel ribbons. Chloe, Lily, and Maya burst through the revolving glass doors, out of breath. Lily had ripped off her bridesmaid corsage and thrown it into a nearby trash
can.
Are you okay? Lily asked, grabbing my shoulders, her eyes brimming with tears. God, Chloe, we had no idea. We sat there yesterday laughing while she showed us those hickeys. I feel so sick to my stomach. It's not your fault, I said, offering a small, exhausted smile. You didn't. No. We're coming with you, Maya said firmly. We're going to your apartment. We're ordering 3 bottles of wine, and we're locking the doors. No, my mother interjected, her voice carrying an authority honed by decades of dealing with unfaithful men. First, we go to the bank, then the real estate registry. Zach is a snake, and when snakes get cornered, they try to take whatever they can drag into their holes. My mother was right. Within 2 hours, we were sitting in the private office of our family attorney, Arthur Pendleton. Arthur had managed my grandfather's estate and had warned me 3 years ago against putting Zach's name on any substantial property deeds before marriage. Fortunately, Chloe, Arthur said, adjusting his reading glasses as he reviewed the mortgage documents, you retain the paper trail showing the $450,000 down payment originated entirely from your inheritance trust fund. Zach only contributed to the minor cosmetic renovation loan, roughly $35,000. Can I lock him out immediately? I asked. Technically, he is a co-signer on the mortgage note, Arthur replied. However, given the evidence of trespass property damage, he destroyed your security system, correct? And the fact that he does not hold primary equity, we can file an emergency petition for exclusive occupancy based on domestic disruption and financial fraud. I'll have the injunction signed by a judge by 5 o'clock
today.
In the meantime, change the digital locks.
Done, I said.
I pulled out my phone and accessed the smart home app.
With
3 taps, I wiped Zach's biometric data and passcode from the front door, the garage, and the security gate. While we sat in Arthur's office, my phone did not stop vibrating for a single
second.
47 missed calls from Zach Carter. 18 missed calls from Amber Carter. 6 missed calls from Mark Carter, Zach's uncle. 112 text messages. I opened the notifications. Zach, 1:15 p.m. Chloe, please answer. My mom had a panic attack and is in the emergency room. You completely humiliated our family. Can't we just talk like adults? Zach, 1:42 p.m. I know you're hurt, but what you did was cruel.
Tess is on
suicide watch. Her family is threatening to sue you for defamation. We need to issue a joint statement saying the video was taken out of context. Zach, 2:10 p.m. Answer me. You ruined my reputation at the firm. Mr. Sterling was at the wedding. Do you have any idea what you've done to my career? Zach, 2:45 p.m. Why can't I unlock the front door? Chloe, my work laptop and suits are inside. Let me in. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Even now, facing total destruction, his first concern was his image, his mother's drama, Tess's victimhood, and his career. Not once did he say, I am horrified by what I broke in you. I tapped his contact, hit select all, and exported the entire conversation history to Arthur's encrypted cloud server. Then, I blocked his number. I did the same for Tess, Amber, and every member of the Carter family. Chloe, Arthur said gently, looking up from his legal pad. What about the business contracts? Zach's logistics consulting firm holds a subcontract with Your uncle's shipping conglomerate. It accounts for nearly 60% of his annual revenue. I looked at my mother. My mother took out her phone, dialed a direct line, and put it on speaker. Brother, my mother said when my Uncle Henry picked up. Zach Carter cheated on Chloe the night before the wedding. He brought the girl into the new house.
The
Wedding is off. A brief pause followed on the other end, followed by the sound of a pen
snapping.
Consider his contract terminated for breach of the corporate ethics clause. Uncle Henry said in a gravelly, merciless tone. I'll have our legal department serve his office by tomorrow morning at 9. Thank you, Henry, my mother said softly and hung up. I leaned back against the leather chair, closing my eyes. The adrenaline that had kept my spine straight through the wedding aisle was beginning to recede, leaving a deep, thumping ache in my temples. For 7 years, I had molded my life around Zach. I had learned his coffee preferences, tolerated his overbearing mother, cooked his dinners during tax season, and held his hand through his father's passing. I had believed his gentle demeanor, his soft voice, and his promise that our love was sacred. And all it took was a single red thread to reveal that beneath the facade, he was nothing more than a thief who wanted the prestige of a devoted wife and the thrill of a secret mistress. Come, my mother said, placing a warm hand over my trembling fingers. Let's go home and pack his garbage. At 6 p.m., a heavy summer thunderstorm broke over the city. Rain poured in thick, gray sheets, drumming violently against the windshield as my mother, Lily, Maya, and I pulled into the driveway of the new suburban house. Behind us, 2 private security guards hired by Arthur followed in a black SUV. Standing on the covered porch, drenched from head to toe, was Zach. He had abandoned his tuxedo jacket, wearing only a sodden white dress shirt, clinging to his chest. His hair was plastered to his forehead. Next to him stood Tess, shivering under a cheap convenience store umbrella, clutching her purse too, her chest like a shield. When my car pulled up, Zach rushed down the stone steps, ignoring the driving
Rain.
Chloe, he yelled, banging on my driver's side window. Chloe, unlock the door. My keys don't work. All my files for Monday's presentation are in the study. I didn't roll down the window. The 2 security guards immediately stepped out of their vehicle, their imposing frames flanking Zach and pushing him back several paces. Sir, keep your distance from the vehicle, the lead guard, a broad-shouldered man named Marcus, said in a voice that brooked no argument. I stepped out under Maya's umbrella, my black dress shielded by a long trench
Coat.
Zach looked at me with wild, bloodshot eyes. Chloe, please. You can't lock me out of my own house. I have rights. I'm on the mortgage. As of 4:30 p.m., a temporary restraining order and an emergency order for exclusive occupancy have been granted by Judge Miller, I said, pulling a folded legal document from my coat pocket and handing it to Marcus, who held it in front of Zach's face. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal clothing, under security supervision. If you touch a single piece of furniture, electronics, or decor purchased by my family, Marcus will have the local police department arrest you for theft. You're treating me like a criminal, Zach shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. We were together for 7 years. 7 years, Chloe. Does that mean nothing to you? I made a mistake. People forgive affairs every single day. We could have gone to counseling. People forgive mistakes, I replied, my voice slicing through the roar of the
Then.
An affair is not a mistake. It is 1,000 calculated choices. You chose to text her on our anniversary. You chose to buy her that ring with our shared credit card points. You chose to bring her into my bed the night before our wedding. Tess stepped forward from under the umbrella, her face smeared with ruined mascara. Chloe, please don't take it out on his career, Tess whimpered, her voice gratingly soft. Zach worked so hard for that consulting contract with your uncle. If he loses it, his company will go bankrupt. He has employees. Please, hate me, blame me, but don't destroy his life. I looked at Tess. Above her head, that grotesque red string was still tied firmly to Zach. But now, it was frayed, dark, and tangled in ugly knots. Even as she spoke for him, I could see the resentment simmering beneath her submissive act. She was terrified that if Zach went broke, she had thrown away her reputation for a man who had nothing left to offer. You wanted him so badly that you wore my engagement sketch on your finger, I told her. Now you have him. Support him through bankruptcy. That's what true love is, isn't it? Tess shrank back, her lips trembling, unable to answer. Marcus, I directed. Open the garage. Bring out the boxes. During the 2 hours we were at Arthur's office, my mother had dispatched a professional moving crew to the house. They hadn't touched the master bedroom decor. They had simply cleared out Zach's closet, his shoe racks, his bathroom, toiletries, and his study drawers, packing them ruthlessly into 22 standard cardboard boxes. Marcus tapped a code on the garage keypad. The heavy metal door rolled upward. Inside sat the 22 taped boxes, stacked neatly alongside Zach's golf clubs and his bicycle. There's your life, Zach, I said. Take it and get off my property. Zach stared at the boxes, his expression shattering into genuine despair. He realized, perhaps for the very first time, that there was no negotiation. There was no tearful reconciliation. There was no manipulation that could bridge the chasm he had dug. Chloe, he whispered, his knees visibly shaking. Where am I supposed to go? My mother's house is full of relatives asking questions. I have nowhere to sleep. Call an Uber, Lily yelled from behind me. Or better yet, crash at Tess's tiny studio apartment. I'm sure her twin-size bed will fit your huge ego perfectly. Zach turned his glare toward Tess, a sudden, venomous flash in his eyes. This is your fault, Zach muttered, his voice laced with venom. If you hadn't left that damn phone on the vanity yesterday, if you hadn't insisted on coming to the house last night. Tess gasped, taking a step back as if he had struck her. My fault? You were the one who begged me in the stairwell. You told me you couldn't control yourself around me because you wouldn't stop crying and manipulating me. Zach roared, stepping toward her with his fists clenched. You knew what was at stake. You ruined everything. I watched them turn on each other like two feral dogs in the rain. The romantic illusion, the dangerous, forbidden passion that had fueled their year-long secret affair, dissolved the instant reality stripped away their comfort and social status. Without my house, my family's backing, and the thrill of betrayal, all they had left was mutual blame and shared disgrace. You have 20 minutes to load these boxes into a truck or they go on the curb for tomorrow's trash pickup, I told them. I walked past them into the warmth of the foyer, closed the heavy front door, and locked the deadbolt. Inside the house, the silence was deafening. The air smelled faintly of Tessa's floral perfume and Zach's sandalwood cologne. It was a suffocating, oily presence that clung to the curtains and the polished hardwood. Girls, I said, turning to Lily and Maya. Help me. We didn't sleep that night. We went to the master bedroom first. I pulled the custom silk sheets, the ones I had spent hours ironing, off the mattress and threw them directly into heavy-duty black contractor bags. We stripped the duvet, the pillows, the mattress topper, and even the velvet bench at the foot of the bed. What about the mattress? Lily asked, holding a pair of heavy scissors. Drag it to the curb, I said without hesitation. Everything they touched gets thrown out. We stripped the engagement portraits from the walls, smashing the glass frames into the trash bin. We took the crystal wine glasses they had drunk from and tossed them into the recycling container. Every trace of Zach Carter's 7-year existence in my world was systematically erased, bagged, and dragged into the garage. By 3 a.m., the master bedroom was completely bare. Nothing remained except the smooth oak flooring and the bare walls under the recessed ceiling lights. I opened all the windows, letting the cool, rain-washed night air sweep through the corridors, scouring away the remnants of cheap perfume and betrayal. Sitting on the floor of the empty living room with my back against the wall, I accepted a cup of hot chamomile tea from my mother. How is your heart, my girl? She asked softly, sitting beside me. I looked at my hands. They were scratched and covered in dust, but they were completely steady. The trembling that had plagued me since yesterday morning had vanished. I feel light, I whispered. For the first time in 7 years, I don't feel that constant, low-grade anxiety in the back of my mind. My mother smiled sadly. That's because, deep down, your gift was trying to warn you long before you saw that string. Your soul knew he wasn't whole. Mom, I asked, looking up at her. What about Dad? My mother's smile faded slightly, replaced by a quiet, resolved stillness. Ever since I was a child, I had seen 2 glowing red strings attached to my father's head, one connecting to an old colleague from his engineering firm, and another to a woman who owned a boutique in the city center. My mother had stayed with him for 30 years, enduring cold dinners, passive-aggressive arguments, and endless humiliations, all to protect the family's image and ensure I grew up in a complete home. Tomorrow morning, my mother said, her voice firmer than I had ever heard it. Arthur is filing my divorce papers as well. I gasped, looking at her. Mom, seeing you walk down that aisle in black today, she said, her eyes shining with unshed tears, seeing you refuse to swallow the poison just to save face. It woke me up, Chloe. I wasted 30 years playing the martyr so people wouldn't talk. You showed me what real dignity looks like.
If my
28-year-old daughter has the courage to walk away from 7 years of lies, I can walk away from 30. I reached out and wrapped my arms around her neck. We sat together on the bare wooden floor of the empty house, listening to the rain outside. Two women, finally shedding the chains of men who thought loyalty was optional. Bad news travels fast. Scandalous humiliation travels at the speed of light. By Monday morning, the wedding video had leaked. Lily had posted a short, high-resolution clip on TikTok and Instagram with a caption, "When the groom spends his wedding eve testing out the maid of honor in the bride's new house. Black dresses for cheating funerals." Within 12 hours, the video had garnered over 4 million views. Local gossip pages picked it up. By noon, Zach's full name, his company, and Tess's LinkedIn profile were trending across regional social media. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. At 10 a.m., Zach arrived at his consulting firm's downtown office, only to find 2 building security guards blocking the turnstiles. His keycard had been deactivated. "Mr. Carter," the building manager said politely, handing him a sealed courier envelope. "The board of directors held an emergency meeting this morning at
8.
In light of the public ethics scandal and the immediate cancellation of your primary vendor contract with Vance Logistics, the board has voted to terminate your position as managing director effective immediately." "You can't do that," Zach shouted in the crowded lobby, surrounded by commuting professionals who immediately began filming him with their phones. "I built this firm. The ethics clause in your partnership agreement allows for immediate forfeiture of shares in the event of reputational damage resulting in commercial loss." The manager replied impassively. "Your personal belongings have been shipped to your mother's residential address. Please leave the premises, or we will have the police escort you out." Zach stood in the center of the lobby, clutching the envelope, his face burning with a level of public shame he had never conceived possible. People in business suits walked past him, whispering behind their coffee cups, snickering as they showed each other the TikTok video of him catching Tess in the aisle. Across town, Tess's situation was even worse. She worked as a senior account manager at a boutique PR agency, a firm whose entire business model relied on managing public reputations. When she walked into the office on Monday morning, wearing dark sunglasses to hide her swollen eyes, the entire floor went dead silent. Her boss, a sharp, formidable woman named Victoria, called her into the glass corner office immediately. "Pack your desk, Tess," Victoria said without looking up from her tablet. "Victoria, please," Tess pleaded, her voice shaking. "It's a private matter. Chloe blew it out of proportion to ruin me." "A private matter?" Victoria looked up, her gaze freezing cold. "You are an account executive at a public relations firm. You are currently the face of the most viral infidelity scandal in the state. 3 of our female clients have already called this morning demanding that their accounts be transferred away
From you.
One of them specifically said, "If Tess Reynolds doesn't respect her best friend's marriage, why would I trust her with my brand's confidentiality? I have nowhere to go." Tess cried, collapsing into the guest chair.
My
"Landlord saw the video and told me he won't renew my lease next month because the building's tenants are complaining about reporters hanging around the lobby. Zach lost his job too." "Then I suggest you and Zach figure out your finances together," Victoria said
coldly.
"HR has your severance check. You have 15 minutes to vacate the building." By Monday afternoon, both Zach and Tess had become social pariahs. Zach's mother, Amber, tried to salvage the situation by hosting an emergency tea for her country club circle, attempting to spin a narrative that Chloe had been an abusive, controlling fiancé who pushed Zach into a momentary lapse of judgment. Her friends listened in silence. But when Amber finished her dramatic performance, the club's committee president set down her porcelain cup and said, "Amber, dear, we all saw the security footage. The boy didn't look abused. He looked entirely at home in Chloe's house with her best friend. And frankly, the way you tried to physically force Chloe down the aisle was disgraceful. The board has decided it would be best if you step down from the charity gala committee this year." Amber went home, locked herself in her bedroom, and smashed her vintage china. set against the wall. 3 weeks passed. I used that time to completely remodel the house. I hired an interior design team to repaint every wall, install custom Scandinavian minimalist furniture, replace all the oak flooring with light ash, and turn the master bedroom into a sun-drenched art studio and library. I sold Zach's half of the equity through Arthur's legal settlement.
Because Zach
Was desperate for cash to settle his consulting firm's liquidation debts, he was forced to sign a quitclaim deed transferring full ownership of the property to me in exchange for a meager $20,000 buyout, barely enough to cover his credit card bills. My mother's divorce from my father proceeded with ruthless efficiency. Armed with Arthur's forensic accountants, my mother secured 70% of their marital assets, leaving my father to face the financial reality of his own past discretions. For the first time in 30 years, my mother bought a penthouse apartment overlooking the harbor, filling it with modern art and plants. One Thursday evening, as I walked out of a downtown gallery where my textile designs were being featured in an exhibition, a figure stepped out from the shadows of the parking garage. Chloe. I stopped. My hand instinctively went to my bag, where I kept my pepper spray. Zach walked under the flickering fluorescent light. He looked unrecognizable. In less than a month, he had lost at least 15
pounds.
His tailored suit had been replaced by a rumpled, faded polo shirt and wrinkled khakis. Dark purple hollows sat under his sunken eyes, and his jaw was covered in an unkempt, patchy stubble. And above his head, the red string was a twisted, blackened knot, fraying at both ends, oozing a dull, sickly aura. "What do you want, Zach?" I asked, keeping my distance near the security booth. "Chloe, please don't run away," he pleaded, his voice cracking. He held out his hands, which were trembling uncontrollably. "I just needed to see you.
Eva.
Been waiting outside your gallery for 4 hours. If you don't leave within 10 seconds, I will press the emergency panic button on this pillar," I said calmly. "Just give me 3 minutes," he cried, taking a frantic step forward before checking himself. "Chloe, I'm dying. My life is completely destroyed. My company is gone. My car was repossessed yesterday. My mother won't speak to me without screaming and blaming me for her social exile. I have nothing left. You have Tess," I pointed out coldly. "Isn't that the woman you couldn't control yourself around?" A look of pure, unadulterated hatred contorted Zach's features. "Don't mention that psycho's name," he spat, saliva flying from his lips.
She
Moved into my mother's basement because she couldn't pay her rent. She sits there all day crying, demanding that I marry her to fix her reputation.
She
Keeps saying I owe her a wedding because I ruined her life. We scream at each other until 4 in the morning every single night. He dropped to his knees right there on the oil-stained concrete of the parking garage, clasping his hands together in a posture of pathetic worship. "Chloe, I was an idiot. I was blinded by ego. I took your kindness, your loyalty, your grace for granted. I thought because you loved me so much, you would always be there in the background while I indulged my stupid, selfish impulses. But I don't love Tess. I never loved her. It was just lust, it was just excitement, because it was forbidden. The only woman I have ever truly respected and loved is you." Tears streamed down his hollow cheeks, dripping onto the concrete. "Take me back, Chloe.
please.
I'll sign a post-nuptial agreement. I'll give you total control over my bank accounts, my phone, my location 24 hours a
Day.
I'll be your dog. Just let me come home. Let me come back to our life." I looked down at the man who had knelt before me in the wedding aisle 3 weeks ago with that smug, arrogant smile, believing he had trapped me into submission. I looked at the glowing red thread connecting him to Tess, still pulsing with the bitter, toxic entanglement of their shared sin. "Zach," I said softly. He looked up, a faint, desperate glimmer of hope lighting his bloodshot eyes. "Yes, Chloe? Yes. Do you know why I never checked your phone during our 7 years together?" He blinked, confused. Because you trusted me?" "No," I said, stepping closer so he could see the cold, absolute finality in my
Eyes.
"Because I believed that true loyalty doesn't require surveillance. A man who needs to be monitored, leashed, and audited to stay faithful is not a
Partner.
he is a liability." I pointed at the empty air between us. "You think you can come back because you said you're sorry. But in my eyes, Zach, you are already completely invisible. When I look at you now, I don't see the boy from college. I don't see my fiancé. I see a pathetic, cowardly stranger who traded 7 years of gold for 20 minutes of cheap dirt. Chloe, if you ever come within 100 yards of me, my home, or my workplace again, I said, pulling out my phone and dialing 911, I will have Arthur file stalking charges, and I will release the unedited audio files of your stairwell conversation to every hiring firm in this state. Zach froze. The color drained from his face until he looked like a corpse. He realized there was no charm left to work, no emotional lever to pull. He had exhausted every drop of credit he had ever held in my heart. The 911 operator answered. 911, what is your emergency? I have an unauthorized individual trespassing on private commercial property. I told the dispatcher clearly, keeping my eyes locked on Zach. The address is. Zach scrambled to his feet, threw his arm over his face to hide from the parking lot cameras, and sprinted into the dark alleyway like a terrified rat. I canceled the call, put my phone away, and got into my car. 6 months later, spring arrived with a sudden, warm burst of cherry blossoms and clear blue
skies.
I was sitting on the outdoor terrace of a seaside cafe in Newport, holding a sketchbook. Across from me sat my mother, wearing a chic linen dress and oversized sunglasses, sipping an iced latte while reviewing architectural blueprints for her new art foundation. My phone chimed with a news alert from our hometown's local business registry. Lily had sent a screenshot of a public legal notice. Tess Reynolds versus Zachary Carter, civil complaint for breach of promise, domestic harassment, and financial restitution. Attached was a short tabloid summary. Tess had sued Zach for $20,000 she claimed she lent him during his company's bankruptcy. In retaliation, Zach had filed a restraining order against Tess, claiming she had slashed the tires of his mother's car and harassed him at his new job, working as a night shift warehouse clerk at an auto parts distribution center. The Carter family home had been put on the market at a steep discount to pay off the legal debts and bank liens. Amber Carter had reportedly moved to a rural retirement village 3 states away, unable to show her face in any country club in the region. And Tess Reynolds had deleted all her social media accounts, working under a different name at an obscure telemarketing center in the industrial district, isolated from every friend she had ever had. I looked at the screen for 3 seconds. Then, I swiped the notification away. It didn't bring me joy. It didn't bring me anger. It brought me the purest, most liberating sensation a human being can experience. Complete, unadulterated indifference. They were trapped in the hell of their own making, bound to each other by the very toxicity they had chosen over honor. Their red thread had become their
noose.
Chloe, my mother called gently, pointing toward the harbor. Look at the sunlight on the water. I looked up. The ocean stretched endlessly toward the horizon, sparkling like crushed diamonds under the midday sun. Sailboats drifted gracefully across the bay, their white sails catching the brisk, clean wind. People walked along the boardwalk. Through my eyes, the world was filled with threads. I saw an elderly couple holding hands on a bench, a thick, luminous golden red cord connecting their hearts, glowing with 50 years of weathered, tested devotion. I saw a young couple laughing by the ice cream parlor, their single red thread, bright, fresh, and clear, free of knots or deceit. And then, I looked at my own reflection in the cafe's glass window. Above my head, the air was crystal clear. Not a single string bound me to anyone. There were no tangled knots, no dirty ties, no lingering shadows. My ability had once felt like a curse, a terrifying window into the secret ugliness of the people I loved. It had made me cautious, guarded, and fearful of giving my heart away. But as I sat there in the spring breeze, feeling the warmth of the sun on my skin and the quiet strength in my chest, I realized the truth. The red strings were never a curse. They were a shield. They were a compass that had guided me out of a 7-year trap, saving me from a lifetime of quiet misery, gaslighting, and slow poison. Chloe, a voice called. I turned around. A young man was walking up the terrace steps, carrying a portfolio case.
It was
Julian Vance, no relation to my family, but a brilliant young landscape architect who had collaborated with me on the interior garden for my new studio. He had clear, honest hazel eyes and a warm, easy smile that reached his temples. Sorry I'm late, Julian said, slightly out of breath as he set the portfolio on the table. The ferry was delayed. I brought the revised sketches for the atrium fountain. He reached out to shake my hand. As our fingers met, I looked up. His head was completely clear. Not a single red thread hung over him.
his aura
was steady, open, and calm. And when he looked at me, there was no calculation in his eyes. No hidden comparisons, no practiced charm, no performative devotion. Just genuine respect, quiet admiration, and the clean slate of a new beginning. "The sketches look wonderful, Julian," I said, smiling genuinely as I pulled out a chair for him.
"Sit down."
"Let's talk." The ocean wind blew softly, carrying the scent of salt and blooming jasmine. The past was buried. The strings were cut. And for the first time in my life, the future was entirely, beautifully my own.